Okay, so last video of this first section. So that last problem that we did in the last video, right? We noticed that the left-hand side of the function was approaching positive infinity, and the right-hand side of the function was approaching negative infinity. This goes back to the 1 to 2-sided limits theorem. So it says that a function f of x has a limit as x approaches c if and only if the right hand and left hand limits of c exist and are equal. So it has to be equal approaching both sides of that limit. So sometimes you're going to see it written as x approaches c with a negative in the power, or you'll see x approaches c with a positive. They're talking about the left hand and the right hand side of the limit. Sometimes they'll be specific about which piece you're looking at. Sometimes they want you to look at the whole. So please make sure you remember, if and only if the right hand side and left hand sides of the limit exist and are equal, will that function have a limit as x approaches c. All right, so we got let f of x be the piecewise function graphed below. So if we're looking here at this piecewise function, okay, we want to find the limits of each of these values and find out if they exist. So the first one, we've got 0. So we would write that, right? We're going to check the left hand and the right hand side. So the limit as x approaches 0 from the left-hand side, right? So here's 0, and from the left-hand side, there's nothing there, right? So that part actually doesn't exist. So we're going to try from the right-hand side, right? The limit from the right-hand side, so we're coming from the right, looking at the right, it's approaching 1. So the limit of f of x so the limit of f of x as x approaches 0 positive, right, from the right-hand side is 1, but there is none for the left-hand side. All right, so if we're looking here at the second part, we've got at 1, right? We actually do have two different pieces. So the limit as x approaches 1 from the left-hand side of f of x is equal to 0, right? And the limit as f of x approaches the right-hand side, running out of space. Ooh. Okay, so that equals, coming from the right, it equals 1. Notice that these two do not match. So the actual limit here, as x approaches 1 of f of x, does not exist because the pieces don't match. All right, so let's look at 2. I'm going to write out here so maybe I have enough space. All right, so the limit as x approaches 2 from the left-hand side of f of x. All right, so we're at 2. We're coming from the left, right? And we still have a value of 1, so that equals 1. The limit as x approaches 2 from the right-hand side, so if we're coming from this way, right, it's still approaching 1, even though it has that point up there. This equals 1. So therefore, the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x equals 1. All right, I would like you to try 3 and 4 and see if they end up matching what I get. So go ahead and pause the video and try it yourself. Remember, if you're not taking these times to pause and practice yourself, you're actually just hurting yourself in the long run. So please make sure you're doing that. Okay, so you should have gotten that the limit of 3 was equal to 2 and that the limit of 4 only existed from the left-hand side and it was equal to 1. Okay, so this last piece of your note sheet is true and false. I actually would like you to submit on the quizzes after this your answers to this true or false. Um, and that will be my record of if you watched these videos or not. Again, answer all of these questions at these from the video notes honestly. It only helps you in the long run for me to know what you know and what you don't know.